My name is Shannon. Standing on the porch, watching the sheriff's cruiser drive away with my father in handcuffs, I finally felt a sense of liberation. The snow was falling gently, and the silence was almost deafening. It was a far cry from the chaos that had just unfolded inside my ranch. It all started on a Christmas Eve morning. I was in my kitchen, pouring myself a cup of coffee, when my phone lit up with a notification from my father, Henry. The message was short, but it hit me like a ton of bricks. Shannon, we've decided to keep dinner small this year. Just me, Ryan, and a few close friends. We'll catch up with you after the holidays. I stared at the screen, my heart sinking. Small was his code word for his new girlfriend, a 22-year-old named Lily, who is 5 years younger than me. He didn't want my disapproving look ruining the mood. My brother Ryan, the spoiled one who had never held a real job, would be there, and I was clearly not welcome. For 32 years, I'd been the responsible one, the problem solver. I'd bailed my father out of business troubles and paid off Ryan's debts more times than I could count. But in that moment, I realized I was no longer needed. Without hesitation, I set my coffee down and opened my laptop. I logged into my bank account and transferred the entire balance of $700,000 to the county bank that held the foreclosure title on Silver Pines Ranch. Ryan had been bragging about buying this beautiful, sprawling ranch in Montana for months, but his financing fell through because banks aren't keen on lending large sums to unemployed gamblers. 20 minutes later, I was in my truck, driving past my childhood home. I saw my father's car in the driveway and the Christmas lights on the tree I'd bought last year. I didn't slow down. I just kept driving, watching the house shrink in my rear view mirror until it was just in the snow. Silver Pines Ranch was more than just a piece of property. It was my refuge. When I pulled up to the unplowed driveway, the snow was knee-deep. The house, a massive structure of logs and stone, looked dark and imposing, like a sleeping giant. It was exactly what I needed. As I stepped out of the truck, the cold wind cut through my coat. Holding the deed with only my name on it, I felt like a real person for the first time, not just an extension of my father's will. Inside the living room, there was a piece of plywood leaning against the hearth with Ryan's Lodge coming soon, painted on it in red. He'd put it there when he thought he had the loan. I broke it over my knee and threw the pieces into the fireplace. Watching the wood burn, I felt a sense of satisfaction. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I knew it was either my father or Ryan, but I didn't even look. I started blocking their numbers. It wasn't out of anger, it was a way to protect myself. I then took matters into my own hands. I climbed the ladder and installed high-def cameras and replaced the old locks on the front door with heavy-duty deadbolts. The click of the lock sliding into place was the sweetest sound, a sound of setting boundaries. Over the next few weeks, I worked remotely from the ranch, auditing a shell company in the Bahamas. I knew they wouldn't let it go. Men like my father don't accept rejection. One Tuesday afternoon, I was sitting in the dark, my only light coming from my laptop screen, when I felt the ground vibrate. I picked up my iPad and checked the security app. A black pickup truck was crunching up my driveway. It was a rental. My father stepped out first, wearing his suit, the one he wore to intimidate people. Then came Ryan, looking around with a smug smile. And there was a realtor, too. They were here to sell my ranch. My father tried to open the door with a spare key to my old apartment. When it didn't work, he got annoyed, as if the door was defying him. He then grabbed a crowbar from the truck and started prying at the door. I watched from the kitchen, recording every moment. They moved around my house like they owned it, talking about selling my furniture and getting rid of my personal belongings to cover Ryan's gambling debt. When Ryan carelessly tossed a vase my mother had given me, I pressed the panic button on my security app. Floodlights came on, blinding them, and within seconds, Sheriff Thompson's cruiser roared up the driveway, blocking their truck. My best friend and lawyer, Maya, stepped out of the car with a thick binder. My father tried to spin a story about a wellness check, but Sheriff Thompson wasn't buying it. Maya cited a clause in the trust that stated any trustee who committed a felony against trust property would be removed and forfeit all inheritance. The sheriff listed the charges: burglary, destruction of property, and attempted grand larceny. My father accused me of trapping him, but I told him I'd just let him show his true colors. When he tried to have me arrested for stealing his truck, I showed the sheriff a court judgment that removed his name from the title. As the cruiser drove away, the trust was transferred to me. Maya and I sat on the porch as the snow fell. My phone buzzed with demands for bail money, but I blocked the number and locked the gate. I was finally free from their grasp.